Hello everyone, Nexon here, and you join me in Greater Manchester. And in today's video, we will be talking about some differences between being a bus enthusiast in Singapore and in Greater Manchester. Right off the bat, you'll notice that bus fares in Greater Manchester can be up to 5 to 6 times more expensive when compared to Singapore. A short trip can sometimes cost £4 or even more. That's almost 8 Singapore dollars. In comparison, the maximum fare for a normal bus or train ride in Singapore is slightly over $2. For the adult bus and train monthly pass, it costs $128 in Singapore and £129 or about 235 Singapore dollars in Greater Manchester. Singapore might be increasing its transport fares soon, but it will still be nowhere near as expensive as here in Greater Manchester. In Greater Manchester, there is a website where you can visit to track most of the public buses in real time. Information such as the live location, timetable, model and registration number of the bus can be found easily on the internet. Such a system is completely absent in Singapore, apparently due to security reasons. As a result, while a bus enthusiast in Singapore has to rely on camping or insider information to locate a specific bus, in Greater Manchester, one will be able to find everything online, which makes chasing rare buses and special deployments very easy. In Singapore, it is common for security guards and staff in the bus interchanges to continually harass bus enthusiasts who are photographing or filming buses in the interchange, citing, you guessed it, security reasons. This is despite enthusiasts having up-to-date letters from the bus companies and the Transport Minister that such activities are allowed. In Greater Manchester, I have done a lot of filming in bus interchanges, and I was actually approached by the staff multiple times there as well. But instead of screaming at me in a hostile manner or threatening to call the police, I get, "Wow, nice camera. Have you caught any good buses today?" Or, "Hello, where are you from? It's so nice to see you taking an interest in our lovely buses." We then make some small talk before parting ways. There is awareness in Greater Manchester that this bus hobby exists, which is very nice. But when I see the staff approaching me from the corner of my eye, I'm still a bit apprehensive, as I remember how I was treated for years growing up in Singapore. I can tell you that it is not fun being shouted at in a crowded place and having everyone stare at you as if you're a criminal. I'm glad that people in Greater Manchester are more open-minded, less paranoid, and do not automatically think of a person with a camera as a terrorist. In comparison with Singapore, Greater Manchester has a lot more double-decker buses and no bandy buses. For the variety of the bus models themselves, it's actually quite similar, with both places sharing models like the Mercedes-Benz Citaro and Volvo B9 TL. Buses in Greater Manchester are also more colourful due to the lack of a unified livery like Singapore, although this is set to change soon, as a similar contracting model is set to be rolled out in Greater Manchester in a few years from now. In Greater Manchester, and in most of the UK in fact, many historically significant public buses are preserved after being withdrawn from revenue service. Certain preserved buses are tax exempt and inspection exempt. When preserving buses, it is possible to receive the Queen's Award for Voluntary Service and be invited to Buckingham Palace. This is because the act of volunteering to keep a bus running for future generations to enjoy is appreciated and considered to be a service to the country. Government funding is sometimes also provided to bus museums to help maintain their fleet. In Singapore, on the other hand, it is illegal to keep a withdrawn public bus on the roads, and nearly all of them were scrapped throughout Singapore's entire history. The government sees old withdrawn buses as trash that should be disposed of, along with citing potential
security reasons
of letting them fall into the hands of the public. This leads to the destruction of decades worth of history that the majority of the population can relate to. In Greater Manchester, when riding a preserved bus around, it brings joy everywhere as people whip out their phones and take photos as they are transported back to their childhood. This is sadly something that is not possible in Singapore. The phrase, "one land's trash is another land's treasure," couldn't be more true. Some buses in Greater Manchester, especially those that serve rural areas, can be up to 2 hours apart. Imagine missing the bus and having to wait 2 hours. I think you might as well just walk. Although it's not bad overall, with 15-minute timetabled frequencies in more populated areas. However, bus bunching has been observed to be quite common, which results in a longer waiting time overall. In Singapore, the maximum timetabled frequency for public buses is usually kept at 15 minutes for most normal services. Although not immune to bus bunching, I personally feel that the situation in Singapore is better than Greater Manchester. In Singapore, there are very occasionally some bus events like carnivals, but these are targeted at mainstream audiences, often to spread awareness of some government-related handover, and these are not specifically catered for enthusiasts. In the UK, bus operators sponsor events in which preserved buses give free rides to enthusiasts and the public alike. Individual owners also bring out their own preserved buses to share with the public, and generally everyone has a great time. In Singapore, this will not be possible as there aren't even any preserved buses on the road to begin with. Some bus services in Greater Manchester start and end considerably earlier on weekends. Some services may start at 9 AM and end at 8 PM, or even have no service at all on Sundays. This is likely because most shops and businesses are also open for a much shorter time on Sundays. In Singapore, most of the regular bus services operate generally from 5 AM to 1 AM all throughout the week. However, there is no night buses in Singapore for now, whereas in Greater Manchester, there are buses running through the night.